Timur, historically known as Tamerlane Lang, Timur the Lame, was a Turco-Mongol conqueror and the founder of the Timurid Empire in Persia and Central Asia. He was also the first ruler in the Timurid dynasty, born into the Barlas confederation in Transoxiana on 9 April 1336. Timur gained control of the western Chagatai Khanate by 1370. For that base, he led military campaigns across western, south and central Asia, Caucasus and southern Russia, and emerged as the most powerful ruler in the Muslim world after defeating the Mamluks of Egypt and Syria, the emerging Ottoman Empire and the declining Delhi Sultanate. For these conquests he founded the Timurid Empire, but this empire fragmented shortly after his death. Timur is considered the last of the great nomadic conquerors of the Eurasian steppe, and his empire set the stage for the rise of the more structured and lasting gunpowder empires in the 1500s and 1600s. Timur envisioned the restoration of the Mongol Empire of Genghis Khan. In his formal correspondence, Timur continued throughout his life to portray himself as the restorer of Chinggishid rights. He justified his Iranian, Mamluk and Ottoman campaigns as a re-imposition of legitimate Mongol control over lands taken by usurpers to legitimize his conquests. Timur relied on Islamic symbols and language, referred to himself as the Sword of Islam, and patronized educational and religious institutions. He converted nearly all the Borjigin leaders to Islam during his lifetime. Timur, a non-Chinggishid, tried to build a double legitimacy based on his role as both guardian and restorer of the Mongol Empire. Timur also decisively defeated the Christian Knights Hospitaller at Smyrna, styling himself a Ghazi. By the end of his reign, Timur had gained complete control over all the remnants of the Chagatai Khanate, Ilkhanate, and Golden Horde, and even attempted to restore the Yuan dynasty. Timur's armies were inclusively multi-ethnic and were feared throughout Asia, Africa, and Europe, sizable parts of which were laid waste by his campaigns. Scholars estimate that his military campaigns caused the deaths of 17 million people, amounting to about 5% of the world population. He was the grandfather of the renowned Timurid Sultan, astronomer and mathematician Ulu Beg, who ruled Central Asia from 1411 to 1449, and the great-great-great-grandfather of Babur, founder of the Mughal Empire, which ruled parts of South Asia for over 3 centuries, from 1526 until 1857. Timur is also recognized as a great patron of art and architecture, as he interacted with Muslim intellectuals such as Ibn Khaldun and Hafiz Ibru. Early life. Timur was born in Transoxiana near the city of Kesh, some 80 kilometers south of Samarkand, part of what was then the Chagatai Khanate. His father, Tarikai, was a minor noble of the Barlas, who were Mongols that had been Turkified. According to Gerard Chalarand, Timur was a Muslim, and he saw himself as Genghis Khan's heir. Though not a Borjigid or a descendant of Genghis Khan, he clearly sought to invoke the legacy of Genghis Khan's conquests during his lifetime. His name Timur means iron in Old Turkic languages. Both Timur and Demir are popular male names in Turkey today. Later Timurid dynastic histories claimed that he was born on April 8, 1336, but most sources from his lifetime give ages that are consistent with a birth date in the late 1320s. Historian Beatrice Forbes Mann suspects the 1336 date was designed to tie Timur to the legacy of Abu Sa'id Bahadur Khan, the last ruler of the Ilkhanate, descended from Hulagu Khan, who died in that year. At the age of 8 or 9, Timur and his mother and brothers were carried as prisoners to Samarkand by an invading Mongol army. In his childhood, Timur and a small band of followers raided travelers for goods, especially animals such as sheep, horses, and cattle. In around 1363, it is believed that Timur tried to steal a sheep from a shepherd but was shot by 2 arrows, one in his right leg and another in his right hand, where he lost 2 fingers. Both injuries crippled him for life. Some believe that Timur suffered his crippling injuries while serving as a mercenary to the Khan of Sistan in Khorasan in what is today the T-Margo in southwest Afghanistan. Timur's injuries have given him the names of Timur the Lame and Tamerlane by Europeans. Timur was a Muslim, possibly belonging to the Naqshbandi school of Sufism, which was influential in Transoxiana. However, his chief official religious counselor and advisor was the Hanafi scholar Abdu el-Jabbar Azmi. In Tirmi, he had come under the influence of his spiritual mentor Saeed Baraka, a leader from Bork who was buried alongside Timur in Gur-Emir. Timur was known to hold Ali and the Ahl al-Bayt in high regard and has been noted by various scholars for his pro-Alid stance. Despite this, Timur was noted for attacking the Shia with Sunni apologism. Personality: Timur is regarded as a military genius, and as a brilliant tactician with an uncanny ability to work within a highly fluid political structure to win and maintain a loyal following of nomads during his rule in Central Asia. He was also considered extraordinarily intelligent, not only intuitively but also intellectually. In Samarkand and his many travels, Timur, under the guidance of distinguished scholars, was able to learn the Persian, Mongolian, and Turkish languages. More importantly, Timur was characterized as an opportunist, taking advantage of his Turco-Mongolian heritage. Timur frequently used either the Islamic religion of the law and traditions of the Mongol Empire to achieve his military goals or domestic political aims. Military leader. About 1360, Timur gained prominence as a military leader whose troops were mostly Turkic tribesmen of the region. He took part in campaigns in Transoxiana with the Khan of the Chagatai Khanate, allying himself both in cause and by family connection with Kurgan, the dethroner and destroyer of Volga Bulgaria. He invaded Khorasan at the head of 1,000 horsemen. This was the second military expedition that he led, and its success led to further operations, among them the subjugation of Khwarezm and Urgench. Following Kurgan's murder, disputes arose among the many claimants to sovereign power. Khan of Eastern Chagatai Khanate Tufluf Timur of Kashgar, another descendant of Genghis Khan, invaded, interrupting this infighting. Timur was sent to negotiate with the invader but joined with him instead and was rewarded with Transoxiana. At about this time his father died and Timur became chief of the Barlas as well. Tuflut then attempted to set his son Ilyas Khoja over Transoxiana, but Timur repelled this invasion with a smaller force. Rise to power. It was in this period that Timur reduced the Chagatai Khans to the position of figureheads while he ruled in the name. Also during this period, Timur and his brother-in-law Hussein, who were at first fellow fugitives and wanderers in joint adventures, became rivals and antagonists. The relationship between them began to become strained after Hussein abandoned efforts to carry out Timur's orders to finish off Ilyu Khoja close to Tishnat. Timur began to gain a following of people in Bork, consisting of merchants, fellow tribesmen, Muslim clergy, aristocracy and agricultural workers, because of his kindness in sharing his belongings with them. This contrasted Timur's behavior with that of Hussein, who alienated these people, took many possessions from them via his heavy tax laws and selfishly spent the tax money building elaborate structures. At around 1370, Hussein surrendered to Timur and was later assassinated, which allowed Timur to be formally proclaimed sovereign at Bork. He married Hussein's wife Sarai-ul Khanum, a descendant of Genghis Khan, allowing him to become imperial ruler of the Chagatai tribe. One day Aksak Timur spoke thusly: Khanzude rules over the city. We now number 50 to 60 men, so let us select a leader. So they drove a stake into the ground and said, We shall run thither, and he among us who is the first to reach the stake, may he become our leader. So they ran, and Aksak Timur, as he was lame, lagged behind, but before the others reached the stake he threw his cap onto it. Those who arrived first said, We are the leaders. Aksak Timur said, My head came in first, I am the leader. Meanwhile, an old man arrived and said, The leadership should belong to Aksak Timur. Your feet have arrived, but, before then, his head reached the goal. So they made Aksak Timur the prince. Legitimization of Timur's rule. Timur's Turco-Mongolian heritage provided opportunities and challenges as he sought to rule the Mongol Empire and the Muslim world. According to the Mongol traditions, Timur could not claim the title of Khan or rule the Mongol Empire because he was not a descendant of Genghis Khan. Therefore, Timur set up a puppet Chagatai Khan Suyugatmish as the nominal ruler of Bork, as he pretended to act as a protector of the member of a Chingashid line, that of Genghis Khan's eldest son, Jochi. As a result, Timur never used the title of Khan because the name Khan could only be used by those who come from the same lineage as Genghis Khan himself. Timur instead used the title of Emir, meaning general, and acting in the name of the Chagatai ruler of Transoxiana, to reinforce his position in the Mongol Empire. Timur managed to acquire the royal title of son-in-law when he married a princess of Chingashid descent. Likewise, Timur could not claim the supreme title of the Islamic world, Caliph, because the office was limited to the Quraysh, the tribe of the Prophet Muhammad. Therefore, Timur reacted to the challenge by creating a myth and image of himself as a supernatural personal power, ordained by God. Since Timur had a successful career as a conqueror, it was easy to justify his rule as ordained and favored by God, since no ordinary man could be a possessor of such good fortune that resistance would be seen as opposing the will of God. Moreover, the Islamic notion that military and political success was the result of Allah's favor had long been successfully exploited by earlier rulers. Therefore, Timur's assertions would not have seemed unbelievable to fellow Islamic people. Period of expansion. Timur spent the next 35 years in various wars and expeditions. He not only consolidated his rule at home by the subjugation of his foes, but sought extension of territory by encroachments upon the lands of foreign potentates. His conquest to the west and northwest led him to the lands near the Caspian Sea, into the banks of the Ural and the Volga. Conquests in the south and southwest encompassed almost every province in Persia, including Baghdad, Kabul, and northern Iraq. One of the most formidable of Timur's opponents was another Mongol ruler, a descendant of Genghis Khan named Toktamish. After having been a refugee in Timur's court, Toktamish became ruler both of the Eastern Kipchak and the Golden Horde. After his accession, he quarreled with Timur over the possession of Khwarizm and Azerbaijan. However, Timur still supported him against the Russians, and in 1382 Toktamish invaded the Muscovite dominion and burned Moscow. Conquest of Persia. After the death of Abu Sa'id, ruler of the Ilkhanate, in 1335, there was a power vacuum in Persia. In the end, Persia was split amongst the Muzaffarids, Kartids, Arachnids, Chobanids, Injuids, Jalai-Irids, and Sarbadas. In 1383, Timur started his lengthy military conquest of Persia, though he already ruled over much of Persian Khorasan by 1382. 1381, after Khwaja Masud, of the Sabaida dynasty surrendered. Timur began his Persian campaign with Herat, capital of the Khatid dynasty. When Herat did not surrender, he reduced the city to rubble and massacred most of its citizens. It remained in ruins until Shahrukh Mirza ordered its reconstruction. Timur sent a general to capture rebellious Kandahar. With the capture of Herat, the Khatid kingdom surrendered and became vassals of Timur, but it would later be annexed in 1389 by Timur's son Miran Shah. Timur then headed west to capture the Zagros Mountains, passing through Mazandaran. During his travel through the north of Persia, he captured the then town of Tehran, which surrendered and was thus treated mercifully. He laid siege to Sultaniya in 1384. Khorasan revolted 1 year later, so Timur destroyed Isfahan, and the prisoners were cemented into the walls alive. The next year the kingdom of Sistan, under the Myribanid dynasty, was ravaged, and its capital at Zaranj was destroyed. Timur then returned to his capital of Samarkand, where he began planning for his Georgian campaign and Golden Horde invasion. In 1386 Timur passed through Mazandaran as he had when trying to capture the Zagros. He went near the city of Sultaniya, which he had previously captured, but instead turned north and captured Tabriz with little resistance. Along with Maraha, he ordered heavy taxation of the people, which was collected by Adil Agu, who was also given control over Sultaniya. Adil was later executed because Timur suspected him of corruption. Timur then went north to begin his Georgian and Golden Horde campaigns, pausing his full-scale invasion of Persia. When he returned, he found his generals had done well in protecting the cities and lands he had conquered in Persia, though many rebelled, and his son Miran Shah, who may have been regent, was forced to annex rebellious vassal dynasties. His holdings remained, so he proceeded to capture the rest of Persia, specifically the two major southern cities of Isfahan and Shiraz. When he arrived with his army at Isfahan in 1387, the city immediately surrendered. He treated it with relative mercy, as he normally did with cities that surrendered. However, after Isfahan revolted against Timur's taxes by killing the tax collectors and some of Timur's soldiers, he ordered the massacre of the city's citizens. The death toll is reckoned at between 100,000 and 200,000. An eyewitness counted more than 28 towers constructed of about 1,500 heads each. This has been described as a systematic use of terror against towns, an integral element of Tamerlane's strategic element, which he viewed as preventing bloodshed by discouraging resistance. His massacres were selective and he spared the artistic and educated. This would later influence the next great Persian conqueror, Nader Shah. Timur then began a 5-year campaign to the west in 1392, attacking Persian Kurdistan. In 1393, Shiraz was captured after surrendering, and the Muzaffarids became vassals to Timur, though Prince Shah Mansur rebelled but was defeated, and the Muzaffarids were annexed. Shortly after, Georgia was devastated so that the Golden Horde could not use it to threaten northern Iran. In the same year, Timur caught Baghdad by surprise in August by marching there in only 8 days from Shiraz. Sultan Ahmad Jalaiya fled to Syria, where the Mamluk Sultan Barkik protected him and killed Timur's envoys. Timur left the Sabaida prince Khwaja Masud to govern Baghdad, but he was driven out when Ahmad Jalaiya returned. Ahmad was unpopular but got some dangerous help from Kara Yusuf of the Kara Koyunlu. He fled again in 1399, this time to the Ottomans. Toktamish-Timur War. In the meantime, Toktamish, now Khan of the Golden Horde, turned against his patron and in 1385 invaded Azerbaijan. The inevitable response by Timur resulted in the Toktamish-Timur War. In the initial stage of the war, Timur won a victory at the Battle of the Kondurcha River. After the battle, Toktamish and some of his army were allowed to escape. After Toktamish's initial defeat, Timur invaded Muscovy to the north of Toktamish's holdings. Timur's army burned Ryazan and advanced on Moscow. He was pulled away before reaching the Oka River by Toktamish's renewed campaign in the south. In the first phase of the conflict with Toktamish, Timur led an army of over 100,000 men north for more than 700 miles into the steppe. He then rode west about 1,000 miles, advancing in a front in more than 10 miles wide. During this advance, Timur's army got far enough north to be in a region of very long summer days, causing complaints by his Muslim soldiers about keeping a long schedule of prayers. It was then that Toktamish's army was boxed in against the east bank of the Volga, a river in the Orenburg region, and destroyed at the Battle of the Kondurcha River. In 1391, in the second phase of the conflict, Timur took a different route against the enemy by invading the realm of Toktamish via the Caucasus region. In 1395, Timur defeated Toktamish in the Battle of the Terek River, concluding the struggle between the two monarchs. Toktamish was unable to restore his power or prestige, and he was killed about a decade later in the area of present-day Timur. During the course of Timur's campaigns, his army destroyed Sari, the capital of the Golden Horde, and Astrakhan, subsequently disrupting the Golden Horde's Silk Road. The Golden Horde no longer held power after the losses to Timur. Ismailis. In May 1393, Timur's army invaded the Anjudan, crippling the Ismaili village only a year after his assault on the Ismailis in Mazandaran. The village was prepared for the attack, evidenced by its fortress and system of underground tunnels. Undeterred, Timur's soldiers flooded the tunnels by cutting into a channel overhead. Timur's reasons for attacking this village are not yet well understood. However, it has been suggested that his religious persuasions and view of himself as an executor of divine will may have contributed to his motivations. The Persian historian Qandamir explains that an Ismaili presence was growing more politically powerful in Persian Iraq. A group of locals in the region was dissatisfied with this, and Qandamir writes, these locals assembled and brought up the complaint with Timur, possibly provoking his attack on the Ismailis there. Campaign against the Tughlaq dynasty. In 1398, Timur invaded northern India, attacking the Delhi Sultanate ruled by Sultan Nizam-ud-Din Mahmud Shah Tughlaq of the Tughlaq dynasty. He was opposed by Ayaz and Jats, but the Sultanate at Delhi did nothing to stop him. After crossing the Indus River on the 30th of September 1398, he sacked Tulambar and massacred its inhabitants. Then he advanced and captured Multan by October. Timur crossed the Indus River at Attic on the 24th of September 1398. His invasion did not go unopposed, and he encountered resistance by the governor of Meerut. During the march to Delhi, Timur was still able to continue his approach to Delhi, arriving in 1398 to fight the armies of Sultan Nizam-ud-Din Mahmud Shah Tughlaq, which had already been weakened by a succession struggle within the royal family. Capture of Delhi. The battle took place on the 17th of December 1398. Sultan Nizar-ud-Din Mahmud Shah Tufluk and the army of Malik Iqbal had war elephants, armored with chain mail and poison on the tusks. His Tartar forces were afraid of the elephants. Timur ordered his men to dig a trench in front of the positions. Timur then loaded his camels with as much wood and hay as they could carry. When the war elephants charged, Timur set the hay on fire and prodded the camels with iron sticks, causing them to charge it. The elephants howling in pain. Timur had understood that elephants were easily panicked. Faced with the strange spectacle of camels flying straight at them with flames leaping from their backs, the elephants turned around and stampeded back toward their own lines. Timur capitalized on the subsequent disruption in the forces of Nizar-ud-Din Mahmud Shah Tufluk, securing an easy victory. Nizar-ud-Din Mahmud Shah Tufluk fled with remnants of his forces. Delhi was sacked and left in ruins. Before the battle for Delhi, Timur executed 100,000 captives. The capture of the Delhi Sultanate was one of Timur's greatest victories, arguably surpassing the likes of Alexander the Great and Genghis Khan because of the harsh conditions of the journey and the achievement of taking down one of the richest cities at the time. After Delhi fell to Timur's army, uprisings by its citizens against the Turkish Mongols began to occur, causing a bloody massacre within the city walls. After 3 days of citizens uprising within Delhi, it was said that the city reeked of the decomposing bodies of its citizens, with the heads being erected like structures and the bodies left as food for the birds. Timur's invasion and destruction of Delhi continued the chaos that was still consuming India, and the city would not be able to recover from the great loss it suffered for almost a century.